Numerous Sith throughout the Star Wars legends attempted to cheat death and achieve immortality through the Force. For some Sith, immortality was the end goal in and of itself, that which would allow them to rule the galaxy for eternity. This included the Sith Lords Darth Sidious, his master Darth Plagueis, and his master Darth Tenebrous. The search for immortality wasn't merely the goal of these modern Sith, but was attempted by Sith Lords throughout the millennia, including Darth Bane, Darth Indeddu, and the Sith Emperor Vitiate. Although it's still difficult to measure the achievements of the Sith across legends and canon as the latter continues to be expanded, there was an ancient Sith Lord revealed over the past week who appears to have completely bypassed the immortality sought by the Sith of legends. Instead, Lord Momin of Canon appears to have found a way to use the dark side to pierce the veil of time itself, allowing him to manipulate time, and thus life and death, in a way that bestows upon Momin one of the most powerful Force abilities we've seen. In many ways, this ability makes the simple search for immortality seem like child's play, and may just demonstrate a Sith Lord who has unlocked the most powerful secret of the dark side. In this video expose, I will explain why Lord Momin's ability to time travel, or more accurately, to manipulate time to pierce the veil between life and death, makes this new ancient Sith of canon one of the most powerful Sith ever, even in comparison to the Legends material. While we're still in the early stages of understanding Lord Momin's abilities with the Force, as his guiding Darth Vader through the manipulation of time will unfold over the next few months of the Vader comic, I believe we have enough to point to Momin's unique mastery over the dark side and the true nature of his power with the Force. As Sidious made clear in issue number 21 of the Vader comic, Momin's abilities with the Force were uncommon, utterly unique among the Sith, as his knowledge and use of the dark side found uses that would never be replicated again. Unlike the typical legacy of a Sith Lord, Momin's wasn't built upon destruction, but rather creation. As we learned in this week's issue number 22, Lord Momin's legacy of creation was a result of his central dedication to the dark side, and really, a study of the dark side that was extremely Darth Bane-like in nature. For Momin, the dark side was of primary importance, so much so that he never took an apprentice of his own. Instead, he sought only to study the lore of the dark side, visiting its great sites, and concluding that everything he would do would be to prove his worth to the Force, to build something so grand that he too might be worthy. While the Darth Plagueis of legends studied the dark side to achieve his own ends, that being eternal life, Lord Momin of Canon studied it so that he could prove his worth, never losing sight of who the true master was. It appears as though Momin's study of the dark side and his dedication to it allowed him to unlock the secret of how to manipulate time, so as to allow him to better serve the dark side and prove his worth. Having created a super weapon that was the result of his being guided by the Force, Momin learned how to pour the dark side into his engine to completely stop the flow of time itself, free to then carve out his masterpiece in his canvas of pain and fear. This ability to manipulate time with the Force was also promised to Darth Vader, as Momin, appearing in the present through the legacy of his mask, his essence seemingly intact, vowed that he was able to manipulate the dark side energies on Mustafar to allow for Vader to pierce the veil of time and achieve dominion over life and death. I don't believe that these abilities should be underestimated, as Momin's dominance of time using the dark side is one of the greatest Force abilities we've seen from any Sith Lord, either in canon or in legends. I can't help but agree with Sidious's initial sentiments. Momin's Force powers aren't just unique, but aren't likely to be achieved by any Sith who followed him in the canon. The manipulation of time has only been seen utilized by the Sith of Legends, or any Force user for that matter, a handful of times, and even then, it's completely underwhelming in relation to the feats performed by Momin in the Vader comic. In Legends, a Sith Lord named Seize Rogan was able to jump through time more than 5,000 years, jumping from the Great Hyperspace War to roughly 40 years after the Battle of Yavin. However, this was accomplished not through the Sith Lord's abilities with the Force, but because of a defective hyperdrive system upon their dreadnought, which resulted in an unstable hyperspace tunnel that pierced not just the fabric of space, but also time. The same could be said about the time travel of Darth Revan. Having tracked down an artifact known as the Dark Staff to the planet of Almus, Rvmuller was pushed into using the artifact during the new Sith Wars, as the Jedi were assaulting his fortress and army of Darksiders, leaving no other option. However, upon obtaining the Dark Staff, a Force Storm was created that swept Rvmuller through both space and time. After traveling to the planet of Rusin hundreds of years in the future, Rvmuller found himself caught up in a battle between the Jedi and Sith, and with the Dark Staff having drained his Force powers, he was easily killed upon the battlefield. In Legends, Mace Windu also had a brief experience with time travel, but like our previous two examples, it wasn't the result of his own Force abilities, but rather an ancient artifact. Having been given a mission by the Jedi High Council to return an artifact called the Orb of Passage to a statue commemorating a hero who was known as the Time Guardian, Mace was sent back in time roughly 4,000 years, where he would play an important role in a battle between two dueling factions. After 4 days, Mace returned to his present timeline. The best example within Legends to any type of manipulation of time using the Force, on the scale of what Lord Momin seems to have achieved, was the ability of flow walking, unlocked by a secretive, reclusive species of alien monks known as the Ang-Ti. Flow walking allowed the Ang-Ti to use the Force in order to transcend time itself, allowing them to observe events in the past or future, with only minimal alteration of events being possible. The ability of Lord Momin vastly surpasses any of these Legends examples. Momin didn't rely on defective hyperdrives or utilize ancient artifacts to manipulate time, merely his knowledge of the Force gained through years of study. It's even much more powerful than the example of flow walking. Momin wasn't merely able to manipulate time for observation, but it was a crucial component of his creation, whereby he completely altered that which had been impacted by his abilities. To understand the true power exhibited by Lord Momin's abilities to manipulate time, and why I think it makes him one of the, if not the most powerful Sith, regardless of canon or legends, we merely have to turn to Darth Plagueis' writings in the Book of Sith. Documenting his findings through his manipulation of the midichlorians, Plagueis uncovered a number of potential explorations in the Force that could be attempted after he uncovered the secret to immortality. One of these explorations would be the manipulation of time on a grand scale. As Plagueis described it, a powerful Sith with his knowledge would be able to control the dimension of time, whereby they could fold time in a way that allowed one to impact the physical world and permit the Sith Lord to shift their consciousness along time's flow, both backward and forward. As explained by Plagueis, it sounds extremely similar to Momin's ability to pierce the veil of time itself, between life and death. But importantly, Plagueis recognized that the ability would be achieved only when immortality, the end goal of the Sith for millennia, had previously been achieved. Only then could Plagueis, the benefactor of Sith knowledge spanning millennia that had been rediscovered by Bane and passed down through the Rule of Two era, even attempt to explore the potential of time manipulation within Legends. And yet, Lord Momin appears to have not just discovered this ability, but used it successfully in canon. For this reason then, Momin's Force powers make him one of the most powerful Force users of any Sith, regardless of canon or legends. So there we have it, the uniqueness of Lord Momin's Force abilities regarding the manipulation of time. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter, @SWReadingClub, for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon, for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me... for those feels when you achieve greatness. And those when you don't.